Hi, and I'm Mr. Tapley here to walk you through your next lesson of Year 9 Humanities in Term 2, Week 7. So in our previous lesson, we looked at living standards, so our quality of life, how we measure it, what it is, what impacts our quality of life. This lesson, we're going to be taking that knowledge and then applying it to a little case study that you guys are completing. So our learning intention is to develop our understanding of living standards and compare our quality of life to other nations around the world. So looking at global living standards, global well-being. Our success criteria is to use our research skills to compare living standards around the world and evaluate the significance of quality of life variances, differences. So what does it mean that we have all these places around the world that have such high or such low standards of living? Cool. So, the United Nations Human Development Report, lots of acronyms in economics, the UNHDR, that's a mouthful. The UNHDR have created this global database, this global record of HDI rankings. And if you remember from our last lesson, HDI, the Human Development Index, is how we measure living standards looking at health, so our life expectancy, education, and then our wealth, so income. So it reflects all of our living standards, not just dollary dues, like GDP. So the UNHDR have created this big list of HDI rankings of different countries. This information allows us to examine and compare the living standards of different nations around the world. So I'll show you what that looks like right now. So you can see they've got Global Human Development Indicators, 2019 HDI, and this is all the different countries in the world. And if you click on them, you'll get something that looks like this. You got little Australia there, and I'll talk about what some of these numbers mean in a minute. Just wanted to show you the website. So, using the list there, using the UNHDR database, answer the following questions in your digital notebook. So this is all you're doing for the lesson, 3 little questions in your notebook, using the information in your skills, your research skills, on this website here. So question 1. What are the different factors and categories considered in assessing HDI? So in these slides, I mentioned that, I'll keep having to scroll back, they look at life expectancy, education, and income, but if you go to the website, you'll see that they actually give you a lot more detail on how we measure HDI. So Australia is ranked 6th in the world, so they're the 6th highest standard of living HDI country in the world, allegedly. Their ranking is 0.9, so 1.0 is like a perfect utopia, perfect, wonderful place to be. 0 is trash. So don't look at 0.9 and think like, oh wow, we suck, we got less than 1. 1 is perfect, so 0.9 is really amazing. And how did they give us that number? Well, they assess things like our health, our education, our income, inequality, gender details, poverty, work and employment, human security, all of this information, environmental sustainability. So what's your environment like? Is there lots of pollution? So for question 1, you're looking to give me some of these different little subcategories there. So that's what you're smashing into question 1, looking at those different lists. So what are the different factors and categories, I've just shown you, considered in assessing HDI? This is what I want from this question though. In your personal opinion, what is the most important factor for high living standards and why? So in your personal opinion, no wrong answers in humanities most of the time. What is the most important factor for high living standards? So different people will have different ideas about this question. Some people will say, well, obviously the most important thing to have high living standards is your money, it's your income, and then explain why you feel that way. Some people might think, well, no, if I don't have good healthcare, if I don't have hospitals and medicine, I'm going to die by the age of 14. So it's important to have good health. So scroll through those lists there to find a bit more information. And if you click on the little plus sign, bonk, it gives you more information about that little factor, that category. So you can see under health, they've got your life expectancy, they've got the rate of HIV, so various diseases, child malnutrition. If I go into, for example, education, bonk, it shows you the average years of schooling, the literacy rate, so how many people can read in this country, etc., etc. So that's what question 1's asking for. Looking through these factors, what are they, first of all, and what do you believe is the most important one to having high living standards? Question 2. Identify the following indicators of living standards in Australia. So you're looking for Australia's HDI number, which you saw at the top of the screen, Australia's GDP, and Australia's GDP per capita. So, if we go back to our little page here, and again, you just need to click on the link in the slides, and it'll take you here, and then I'll just go click on Australia, and that'll take me here. So HDI we've got at the top there. Now GDP and GDP per capita is how much money Australia makes and how much money the average person in Australia makes. So that's obviously going to be somewhere in income, because it's related to money, related to how much money we get. So income, go see if you can find some of those informations in there. And then question 3, this is where I'm trying to get you to compare Australia, our lives, to other ones. So question 3, identify those 3 standards of living indicators again, so HDI, GDP, and GDP per capita in 3 different countries. I've got India, Switzerland, and China. So again, you just have to go to Mrs. Epley's master list, which is that website there. And I'm going to find India, China, I've already forgotten the other one. Switzerland. Sorry, Switzerland. There he is. And once I've got those 3 numbers for each of those countries, what you're doing with that information is waiting for that load bar to go. I wish I could get that load bar to disappear. It shows up every time. Anyway, what could cause differences in global living standard levels? So basically what I'm asking for in question 3 is to 1, get those little numbers, write them down in your digital notebook, and 2, again, no wrong answers. I'm looking for you guys to do a bit of deep thinking, reflect, analyze, evaluate, whatever you want to call it. What do you think is going to lead to differences in standards of living around the world? So why do you think Australia has a higher HDI than this country, for example? Or why do you think Australia has a lower GDP than this country? Something like that. So just think about it for a minute. No wrong answers. You might say things like, oh, maybe in this country they have more schools, or maybe in this country there's less people there, less people to feed, so their standards of living are higher. Something like that. So just a couple of sentences where I get you guys to reflect on standards of living around the world. Cool. So that's all you're looking at this lesson, guys. Just the 3 questions. If you have any questions about the questions, please let me know. And yeah, best of luck, guys. Cheers.